Good morning. How are you? How are you? Guess it's afternoon where you are almost. How is everybody after that craziness we just saw? Patrick, good morning. Hey, Don, good to see you. Please swipe and invite if you will. Thank you. Thank you. Big day. Yeah. Hey, Robert, how are you? It's a big day somewhere. Hey, Rob, good to see you. Hello, hello. Man, did we just sit through an hour of craziness? You got an empty burger. Hey, Gary, good to see you. What I want to know is what did Comey have for dinner with the president? And was it rare or well done? What was it? Hey, Kim, good to see you. Karen, good to see you. Mr. Comey, could you tell us, please, did you have tea or coffee? And if so, did the president have ice cream? And was there anything there about two scoops of ice cream as compared to just one? We really want to know. Everybody hear me okay on YouTube over there? Comey's so worried at being alone in a room with another person. Comey, I'm worried about Comey. I'm telling you. He just couldn't quit babbling. You know, Kim, the thing of it is, in the very beginning, when he was talking to Burr, Burr said, "Did he ask you to stop the Russia investigation?" And he said no. And then by the time he got finished, you know, Trump and everybody else in the administration practically had asked him to stop the Russian investigation. I mean, the way it's sounding, he doesn't even understand what was going on. All he understands is that they're, and I'm not even kidding. I was being very sarcastic during a lot of this. But when I tweeted out about a grandfather clock, listen, let me tell you something. It's amazing that his written testimony was like so thorough, so thorough that we had to talk about the grandfather clock next to the door. And if you don't believe me, go check out my article at susanknowles.com. He actually talked about the grandfather clock next to the door. And then when he was leaving, he talked about the grandfather clock next to the door. I'm thinking the grandfather clock plays an important part in here that we just don't know about. And I'm being sarcastic when I say that. But if you're so thorough that you have to talk about, all the little details of a grandfather clock in the room, but you leave out the part about, what Donald Trump told you exactly about what was going on, and oh gosh, I was so afraid, I have a resistance issue. Hey, Lisa, good to see you. Okay, we don't want that name in here. That's a disgusting name. So let's get you on. That's just not acceptable. Rubio was the winner. Yeah, Rubio said, okay, what did he ask? He asked you to be loyal. He asked you, I know, Kimmy. Now you understand why he was called a nut job. I mean, now you can see why he was saying that. I mean, because it's really pretty disgusting. And and for some of the things I tell you, leaker, and you know what? This is another reason you think about it, because Comey, they would ask him questions and then he would say, "Well, I'm confused," or he'd say, "Oh, that's a good question." And they would ask him on suppositions. They would say hypotheticals. Well, do you think that? I know, Patrick, and that's why that person I just got rid of. That's disgusting. That was a disgusting profile name that we do not want in here, and him inviting his followers. I can only imagine. Um, but you know, he was confused, and he did this after Uma Abedin. Remember when that was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, because at the very end of it, he said, with Uma's testimony, "Oh, I need to go back there and change that. I need to make some amendments. I'm not, I got to." So, which one is it? You are so exact in everything that you say that you've got to sit there and listen to the president and get every word, so that once you're finished, you can run out to your van and write something down. and so that's what he did. And in the first time, and if you go back again, if you look at his testimony, when his written testimony, when he was talking about, oh, I went outside Trump Tower, I got in my FBI vehicle. I'm surprised he didn't put the license plates down on there, or what color the vehicle was, and if the seats were leather, or what they were made out of. But he puts down, I get on my laptop, and okay, was that a Mac or was it Microsoft? We really want to know. Um, he didn't say at that point that the information that he was putting in there, he just had this meeting with the president, right? Supposedly everybody's out of the room but him. And then he goes out to his van and writes this information in a laptop right there outside of Trump Tower. Was the information you were writing in there, was it classified? Nobody bothered to ask him, was that information classified? What the president said to you, was it classified? He said he leaked information, said Trump did nothing wrong. Yeah, and then spent another hour talking about, well, I don't know, well, maybe, well, I think that I was afraid to be alone with him. Why didn't you ask? Well, he's the president. Okay, well, if you're independent as you say you are, then you're going to say, look, Mr. President, this conversation is totally inappropriate, and I feel I'm going to have to stop this conversation right now. And then, I forget who it was asked him later on, well, if something is done and you think it's illegal, what are you supposed to do? Well, I don't know if I don't know. Okay, well, you're the FBI director, right? You're supposed to know whether something is legal or not. So if you're sitting there, complete BS, I don't believe he did anything, memos unless in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, if you're sitting there and you think there's some type of obstruction of justice, why didn't you get up from that meeting and call somebody? You call right now, you call and talk to the DOJ. And if you can't talk to the DOJ, you go to the second in command. He didn't do that. What did he do? Well, I talked to my university professor. Okay, so wait a minute. You're talking about FBI information that you've just learned from the president, and you're going to talk to your buddy at the university. I forget what university it was, because he's coming out now and saying, yes, it's me. It was me he talked to. So you're gonna go ahead and give out information. I know. He's supposed to know. He's supposed to, of anybody, Lamper, you're right. He's supposed to know what's right and what isn't. He's supposed to know what's legal and what's against the law. I mean, if you're the FBI and you don't know the laws, how can you go and arrest somebody based upon your suspicion that they may have violated the law? I mean, come on. And yes, he does have an obligation. He had an obligation, if he felt there was an obstruction of justice, to go and report that. And so what did he do? Like I said, he talked to the professor. He talked to all these higher ups. He named off a whole litany of people that he went to and talked to. And yet, none of them together said, you know what? It sounds like an obstruction of justice. What they did say, Happy Comey Day. I know, for leaking information. I know, Bluegrass. He really did. So none of them said, yeah, you need to go talk to the DOJ. What they said was, hey, you know what? And this is what Comey said later, but Comey didn't put this in his written testimony, even though he's such a detail-oriented person. We kept that a secret because we didn't want to stop any of the investigations, and we didn't want to hurt morale. What? What are you talking about? And in his written testimony, he specifically left that out. That would be something that would be important to your testimony that you would include in your written testimony. And it's like, now, did all of you sit around and say, all of you collectively said, we're not going to go and tell anybody because we don't want to hurt morale of the people that are doing the investigation? What? So let me get this straight. It was so critical. I know he opened the door, Cully, he did. It was so critical to the United States and the national security and everything that we're doing on Russia, and yet you don't go tell anybody, but you're worried about whether or not it would hurt the morale of your people doing the investigation. And then I love the fact when he started talking about, Well, he told everybody to leave. Just it was just me by myself with the president, and he asked the attorney general to leave. Okay, let's think about why that happened. Could it be? Could it be, Comey? Because I know, boo. Could it be because the attorney general recused himself on any and all things Russia? Flynn was connected to Russia. He's part of the investigation. So you can't have a conversation with Attorney General Sessions in the room about Russia. He did sound like a little boy. It was terrible. It was terrible. And so, I mean, it's amazing that he's sitting there and talking like that. And here's this guy, I'm so detail oriented. I'm the best of the best of the best. And yet, I can't figure out for the life of me why he asked Sessions to leave the room. Oh, the news media is going to twist this like crazy. Welcome to the show, Comey Show, ladies and gentlemen. It was, wasn't it, Jamie? Welcome to the Comey Show. It was such a show. He really put on a show. Spin, spin, spin. Yep. Comey asked not to be left alone with him. Like, no, I'm telling you, when you go back, and I really want you to go to my article at SusanKnowles.com. I put in excerpts from that written testimony, and you're going to sit there and look at this and go, what in the is wrong with this guy? And at the very end, Jerome Corsi, I have the tweets in there that people said. Jerome Corsi made reference to the fact, okay, so he's schizoaffective paranoia. I mean, the guy, it sounds crazy. And so, and that's exactly what you're going to see. Um, I love this. Let's see. I love the dinner. He found it strange that Comey asked him during dinner if he wanted to stay on as the FBI director since they had previously discussed it. Grandstander. No. Yeah, total grandstander. Comey needs a. Yes, he covered for Clinton. I'm not even going to read that statement off. But Comey said that he found it strange, right? That he would ask him. Then he goes, listen to this testimony, this written testimony. You'll get a really good feel for who this man is. My instincts, my professional FBI, how many years that I've been in the FBI, instincts told me that the one-on-one setting and the pretense that this was our first discussion about my position. Now, there again, hear the paranoia kind of coming out. Hey, Teresa, good to see you. The paranoia, and the pretense that this was our first discussion about my position meant the dinner was at least in part an effort to have me ask for my job and and create some sort of patronage relationship. Ooh, wow. I mean, can you just hear that? Hey, Marlene. I mean, the guy just kind of goes off the deep end. He goes, that concerned me greatly, given the FBI's traditionally independent status in the executive branch. Now, here's where it sounds like here's where it sounds like that it starts to become like a romance novel. Now, listen to this. I mean, you tell me, does this sound like something's about to happen? I didn't move, speak, or change my facial expression in any way during the awkward silence that followed. We simply looked at each other in silence. I'm telling you, when I read that, I was waiting for the moment when one of them leaned in and kissed the other. I mean, if this were a romance novel, that would have been the next step. That would have been happening. I know, by the grandfather clock. Oh my, But seriously, you can imagine that he just sat there. Comey had to break a date with his wife to have dinner with the president. I know, Jamie. Can you believe that? Yes, sir. I'll be right there. I know. Where's Fabio when you need him? Exactly. They should get Fabio to play Comey, and then they'll just, reenact it. And they'll just look at each other longingly in this awkward silence and then lean in, and then the cameras will pull back. I mean, my gosh. He's a leaker. I know. I know. And the sad thing is, he probably doesn't even know. He probably doesn't even know that what he says makes him a leaker. He really doesn't. He just kind of sits there and thinks, well, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. I talked to my buddy. He was available, so I called him up and said, "Hey, I just had dinner with the president. And here's some things that we were talking about. And what do you think about this?" I know. I know. And everybody's like, "Oh, well, I wanna go further in this." And every time they ask him a question about anything of importance, he basically said, "Well, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm confused." But if you ask him something about against Donald Trump, oh man, I know everything. Okay, because I got it all. It is a waste of taxpayer money. Yeah, you know, I mean, he's standing there saying he's contradicting his testimony in a lot of ways. Jamie said it amazes him that Comey thinks we are stupid. It's unreal, ladies and gentlemen. It sure is, Jamie. Totally unreal. But of course, a lot in the American public will just believe that Comey was fired because they wanted to get rid of him. And it was amazing too. They basically said, "Do you think?" I remember hearing it. I forget who asked him. "Do you think this was done to stop the Russian investigation? And did your firing have anything to do with that?" No, no. The FBI. We're just such a great bunch of people that we can go on without me or anybody else. The FBI is going to do their jobs. No big deal. And nothing happened to hurt the investigation. It's still going on. He's got his good buddy Mueller in there that is doing the job. So then, kind of at the end, he's now changed his mind. Well, I think it was kind of done. The firing was done. So it would change the investigation. Okay, which one is it, Comey? Which one is it? I mean, they needed somebody in there to ask him these questions, but I'm sure they're waiting until the proper time to ask. I guess they're probably waiting also to find out what is he going to say in private that he can never say in public. He can't even say in public whether he believes Donald Trump did or didn't do something. Oh, I can't do that right here because if I do that, then it's going to hurt CNN and all the other liberal leaning media that wants to keep this up and keep it going right up until the election. I know. No evidence. It amazes me. It's a good morning, Hugh. How are you? Good to see you. Loretta Lynch, obstruction of justice. Yeah, and I was surprised that McCain came out and tried his darndest, to do something in the favor of the president. Just saying, well, you came out and you concluded everything about Clinton and said, hey, investigation's over, but you're willing to just say the investigation is over, and really, is it? Because she was in that same election with the whole Russia thing. So why aren't we talking about her? And there's really no response for that because, well, Clinton's a Democrat, so that's why we're not talking about her. And I think this is a real indication. We right now we need to start an investigation. We need to make sure. Well, we need to make sure that Hillary Clinton is included in what Mueller is doing. We need to make sure that the Clinton Foundation and Comey's connection to the Clinton Foundation is in there too. Now, during this whole thing, Lindsey Graham came out and said that we're not going to, that Mueller wouldn't have let Comey come forward and testify if there was obstruction of justice. I don't know how he really, arrived at that, but you know, I guess Mueller could have stopped him if he wanted to. Yeah, I know. I mean, finally, McCain tried his darndest to ask a question that would help the president. Hey, Susan, good to see you. So I mean, he at least put forth an effort. Meantime, we have Paul Ryan who's talking to people saying, "Well, I think it was really inappropriate for the president to ask Comey to for loyalty." Really, you had to go out there and talk to Greta Van Susteren and say that. What made you have to do that at this time? Is it you want to just go take him down one more step? I know. I know. McCain really did try to do something. Paul Ryan is a dope. Yes, that's true. But I mean, why did he have to do that? And his answer was to, well, he's new. Okay, well, if he's new, then everything he does is new, and everything can just be. We can look at everything and say, well, he's new. He didn't know. Now we can make a new pretzel. Loyalty means to America and the agenda to MAGA and truth. That's it. I know. No, I. You know what did he want him to say? Will you be disloyal? Yes, yes, I will. And then what would have happened? Come on. Comey is melodramatic. I know. You could tell McCain really didn't want to be there. In my opinion, he didn't really want to be there. Yeah, I mean, let's do the investigation. I mean, that if you really want to have one. I mean, what gets me is there's no evidence at all, and we're wasting time and money. I mean, that's eventually what we're going to find out. However, however, if you're going to find something, and if it comes out, it's going to be against Hillary Clinton. I mean, my gosh, we already heard all the things that they did in regards to the election. I know. But see, he came there voluntarily and he didn't have to. Why did he come there voluntarily? Because he likes to be the center of attention. The guy likes to be the center of attention. Um, and then they make this big deal, although they didn't talk about it too much. Karen said it's so embarrassing to watch our government run after issues that have no evidence while ignoring the mounds of evidence elsewhere. I mean, it's so true. Hugh said, I really don't like when they insult my intelligence. Yeah, but they do that, Hugh. They insult all of our intelligence. Hey, Sarah, good to see you. With sour grapes too for being fired. I know. I always thought I would have the job, but I knew at any time that I could be fired. And my mother said never to talk good about myself. So I'm not going to brag about myself. Why should we trust you? Well, my mother said, my God. It's like, please. Uh, you're just sitting there and you're going, you know what? If this is who runs our FBI and this is what our government is, I don't even know how we're safe. I don't even. We should all lock our doors and stay inside and don't even go anywhere because if this is who we're talking about is in charge of the FBI, at least we have intelligence to insult. That's true. I always thought the men in government were good men, not anymore. Yeah, can't trust them all. Come on, Susan. It was tongue in cheek. Yeah, no, it really wasn't tongue in cheek. He really was talking about his mother saying that he shouldn't talk about himself that way. I mean, why would a professional FBI director bring that up? Go ahead, be professional, and just give an opinion. This is not like tongue in cheek time. It's not time to be silly. It's not time to be, it's time to be professional. Put on your little suit and go in there with your suit and tie and be professional. His favorite song is Lenny Kravitz, My Mama. Can you believe him? No. And no, and saying I had to cancel dinner with my wife. There again, why did you need to throw that out? And talking about, let me go there. In talking about unprofessional, Kamala Harris. What in the world was that? What in the world was that? With her, well, if a robber holds a gun to your head and says, "Give me your wallet," hope's not the operative word there. Wow. Seriously? You said that? You actually compared holding a gun to your head to the hope and what Trump was saying supposedly to Comey? Are you kidding? Kamala Harris, she is a grandstander, but you notice how much respect she gave to him, unlike the respect that she gave to the head of the DHS, Kelly. She didn't give him any respect. She interrupted every time. Yeah, she was over the top. She's always over the top, but she was over the top today. You'll have to go back and hear that. That was totally unnecessary for her to say that. And that was, again, that's that. Let's just leave that image in your head for the American public, especially those on the left. That's what she was doing. She wanted you to remember that and equate the two. Yeah, it's in there, Cully. Just go back and watch. It's grandstanding at its best. Yeah, I know. I know. What Kobe said his teachers and his parents beat it into him. I'm giving my opinion, Mike, and you see, my opinion is my opinion. And if you don't like it, there are other scopes where they're going to give you their opinion, and perhaps you might want to agree with that. Do my homework, but I can't put this down. I know, Teresa. Sometimes you have to. Comey says maybe if I were stronger. I know. She says you're big. You're so big, and you're so strong. And he's like, I know, but I mean, gosh, come on. It is getting to be, this whole thing is getting to be so ridiculous. Yeah, if only I were stronger, if only I could have resisted. And he towers over the president, but and then they had to set the stage. Yes, but when you walk inside the Oval Office, it really changes you, doesn't it? Doesn't it make you? I will, Jamie. Doesn't it make you feel small? I mean, that's what she was implying. You're a big guy and you're a strong guy, but when you walk in there in that Oval Office, don't you just feel like a small little boy? I mean, that's what they wanted you to feel like. Yeah, that's not his first time there. He's been going there since under Obama. And no, wait, Bush. So if he's intimidated by the Oval Office, I mean, come on, what are you doing? I'm sorry, I keep thinking, if you are the FBI director, you're not supposed to be intimidated by anything. You certainly shouldn't be intimidated by, number one, the grandfather clock. You know, not the grandfather clock. Donald Trump scared me. The Oval Office made me cry. Good Lord. Again, a new president at that. He was so scared. He was in the wrong job, weak knees. I know. I mean, it's amazing. The guy just, it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing, to say the least. God, Womulance. All he talked about were his feelings. I know his feelings. Everything was, well, I thought maybe it could have. Perhaps. So there was nothing that you had that showed that he was evidence of it. Trump never came out and said, "Okay, all right, Comey, it's just me and you. We're sitting here together. We're all alone now. Come a little closer here." But I want you to go in there and stop the investigation. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. No, Mike. There was another Mike, not you. And so, I mean, come on. How ridiculous is that? J. Edgar Hoover is rolling in his grave, ladies and gentlemen. He sure is. He sure is. Guilty people are afraid to meet with honest men. Yep. Yep. I'm unbelievable. But again, I'm telling you, you go in there and you look and see about the whole grandfather clock thing, and that's going to freak you out. That he had to put a grandfather clock into his whole diatribe, into his whole written testimony. Okay, Hugh, have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow, okay? Same time tomorrow morning. Well, our usual time. Unless Comey's going to speak again for some reason. Good Lord. Yeah, I don't know why that is, Carmen. Um, Comey reported on that conversation in which he discussed the Russian investigation and the cloud that was impairing his ability to act on behalf of the country. And that's what Donald Trump supposedly said about about the cloud. And it appears once again that while Comey may have felt uncomfortable in having the conversation with Donald Trump, at no time did Comey report to the acting attorney general that there was any obstruction of justice. The Holy Spirit and Jesus Christ are one and the same. Yeah, cuckoo clocks are scary. And my question, and I kind of tweeted out and I said, was Hillary Clinton hiding in the clock? Is that what it was? Maybe he thought she was going to pop out at him and whatever. And I love the fact, do you think that, yeah, the grandfather clock is a spy machine? I know, Jamie. That's kind of what I think he was trying to say. But And I love the question. Do you think that Hillary Clinton would have fired you if you were president? Well, let's see. I gave her a big donation to the Clinton Foundation. Um, I did screw her over somewhat at the election because I told the truth. I don't know. Maybe. But it's funny with Donald Trump, man. It's black and white. No, yes or no. But with Hillary Clinton, it's like I don't know. I don't know if she would be mad at me or not. You know, I think Hillary would fire him in the first month. Hillary, no. I think you're wrong about that, Patrick, and I tell you why. Here's what would have happened. Comey would have accidentally shot himself in the back of the head. That's what would have happened there. Or had some accident while he was in the gym. That's more likely and not what would have happened. I know, Carmen. He actually said something nice about the president. Yeah, and it was funny because again, here's the FBI director. He's done the whole investigation. There's nothing wrong. Hillary is she's super cool. We're fine. What about Lynch and and Bill on the tarmac? Not a problem. Not a problem. And it's all over. So I've determined we're not going to go forward. We're not going to prosecute her, even though as FBI director, I can't make that decision. I know, I know, Jamie. He would have accidentally like gotten shot himself in the back of the head or in the back, something like that. It would have happened because he would have been clumsy. Also, if he told President Trump he had a date with his wife, President would have said, "Good, how about tomorrow?" I know, and he even said that the president said, "Oh, I wanted to invite your whole family over for dinner, but maybe next time." And it's like, oh yeah, I guess maybe Donald Trump wanted to invite the whole family over to try to get his wife, Comey's wife, to also, go against the Russian investigation. Maybe they were going to make it a whole family affair. Maybe that's what it was. Couldn't you see that happening? Okay, everybody grab, let's get closer around the table. Everybody else leave. We just want the Comeys in here. I've got to talk to them about Russia. Oh, oops, did I say that? I'm sorry. Didn't mean to talk about Russia. And after we're done, why don't all of you call your old college professors and have a talk with them and ask them, did I do anything wrong? Tell them what we talked about at dinner. It's always a good thing to do. Um, and here's I love this one too. Thanks, Teresa. Here's another a little tidbit that he said. This is Comey. This is in his written testimony. The president then returned to the topic of Mike Flynn, saying he is a good man and has been through a lot. Oh no, gosh, that right there, doesn't that tell you right there? There's collusion. I mean, that's where I stopped and said, oh, this has to be it. Then he goes on. He repeated that Flynn hadn't done anything wrong on his calls with the Russians. Now, remember, Comey himself said it's not unusual for people to want to talk, like any Russians or any other foreign country to want to talk to people in an administration before they become, president. There was nothing wrong with that, but we had to repeat this here. He repeated that Flynn hadn't done anything wrong on his calls with the Russians, but had misled the vice president. He then said, I hope you can see your way clear to letting this go, to letting Flynn go. He is a good guy. I hope you can let this go. I replied only that he is a good guy. In fact, I had a positive experience dealing with Mike Flynn when he was a colleague as director of the Defense Intelligence Agency at the beginning of my term at FBI. Wow. So wait a minute. Comey knows Flynn, and he was a colleague. So does that mean that since Comey knows Flynn, that there's some Russian connection between Comey through Flynn into Russia? I'm being sarcastic. I never hear anyone talk about Comey's history with the Clintons. I've heard it goes back a long way. Karen, get the book Partners in Crime by Jerome Corsi. Read that book. It'll tell you anybody and everybody that had connections with the Clinton Foundation. It's a great book. I know, honest loyalty. And somebody said, "Did you say loyal honesty?" It was Marco Rubio. "Did you say loyal honesty?" And he goes, "No, I said honest loyalty." Okay, well, let's get that right because it matters. Do I trust Mueller? No, Susan, I don't really. I know everybody else does. But again, if you're looking at an independent counsel, you want them to be independent. How can this person be independent when he worked with James Comey? He worked under Obama. He worked under, I know Obama for sure. I don't know about Bush. And they work together, and they've been described, Comey and Mueller have been described as brothers in arms. I mean, what if, I was being sarcastic a minute ago, but what if there is some connection that Comey had with the Clintons that wasn't, above board? What if? What if they find out that Comey should have gone in and talked to somebody about what Loretta Lynch did, and that tarmac conversation with Bill? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he's ever obstructed justice himself. I don't know if he ever did something that he should be criminally liable for. I don't know. But I certainly don't want Mueller being the one who makes that determination. I know everybody's 7 steps away from a Russian. Is it 7? I thought it was 6. I thought it was closer than that. Are you hiding something? Is that why you said 7? Oh my God. I'm telling you, it was a comedy hour. It really was a comedy hour. And everybody, oh, you know what? I've disagreed with you, but you're a good man. You're a good man, and you're honest, and you're a Boy Scout, and I just love you. But we disagree, and I love that how Feinstein talked about how much she loved him, and I tweeted it out. And I can't remember the exact words, but under the Hillary Clinton, when all that went down, she was like, "Oh, this is horrible. He's just a piece of you know what." And it was, I know, Huey. But it was amazing. She hated him then. Oh my gosh, this guy is stupid. He's ridiculous. How did he ever become the FBI director? But today, you are just amazing. You're just amazing. You're so big. You're so strong. I just love you, and I don't understand why you're here. I don't know how we got into this position, but thank God there are FBI directors just like you. Yeah. Well, the attorney's going to say that basically he said nothing. The attorney's going to say that that the written testimony, what he gave to Congress ahead of time, it stands. And if there was anything in there that should have been provided, it would have been in there. Anything important would have been put in that written testimony, and that goes all the way back to 1989. Jamie said. And if you're sitting there and you're giving testimony, they gave him hypotheticals. Basically, it's all they did. Well, what do you think? If I was, when I was listening to it, I knew that if I were in a court of law and somebody said, well, what do you think that the reason Trump asked you that question in the way he did? There would have been objection, Your Honor, supposition. Because all they was doing was just saying they wanted Comey to be in the mind of the president. Even Comey had the, wherewithal and the intelligence to say, I really don't know what the president was thinking. You're right, you don't. And in a court of law, that question would never have been allowed. It's ridiculous. It's leading the witness. It's just being stupid, Marlene. I mean, seriously, you don't ask questions like that. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like you can say, you know, looks like Comey trusts the news media. Yeah, and did you notice he was saying there's a lot of things I can't say right now because, I've been a private citizen for a month. In other words, he's been a private citizen for a month. He's been listening to the media, and he doesn't want to say one way or the other. He's picked up some bias on the media. At one point, he even said that he was very biased because he was the one fired. That was honest. He is very biased. Let's face it. He didn't like the fact that he got fired. Yeah, I can't say, I don't know. I can't say sitting right here. And we'll never know what they're going to say in there in that classified hearing. We're not going to know. And the whole thing, it leaves the public once again questioning things. Yeah, probably. Yeah, and I just like that whole thing. Oh, well, we were going to keep this information for later. For later for what? What were you going to, are you the NSA? Were you going to keep this information and bring it up when, if something happens, you can bring it up and say, look what we have, look what we have. They wanted to like piece together something to try to get the president. In other words, they had nothing right now, but let's just hold on to it. We might be able to use it against him later on in some other area. See that whole thing. If you've got something right now, then use it. You'll have to find out, John, when you ask Clinton how what he did. Um, but you see what I'm saying? You just if you've got that information and you know he's done something wrong, then use it right now. Why did you hold off? And don't give me that, oh well, we didn't want to interfere with the investigation and hurt the morale. Your morale in the FBI was already going down. Already going down. Remember when people were going to walk out because he wasn't going forward with anything on Clinton? I mean, this guy acts like, he's the best thing since bottled ketchup. And yet people weren't so happy with him. And we're supposed to think, well, he had all these, and I love that. Well, I never made this documentation on any president I ever talked to. And we find out what he talked to President Trump like 9 times, right? And so he talked to Obama maybe once or twice, Bush maybe once or twice. Maybe Comey, you didn't have as many conversations, so you couldn't, pick up as much information to become paranoid with. So maybe that's the issue. When it all comes down to it, ladies and gentlemen, Comey is a liar, ladies and gentlemen. That's, Jamie, that about puts it right there at the truth. Comey is in it for Comey. Comey's going to help himself. I hope they go after lunch after this. I want him to go after. I want him to go after it all. And what are we waiting for? Again, if we had done this in the very beginning, there would be no reason to wait. But right now they can say, well, you're only doing this because we found out all this information about Trump, and now you're trying to throw off the investigation with Russia and everything else. And it sounds like to me that Mueller, again, he's going to drag this out at least to 2018, perhaps into 2020. Yeah, in his mind. And did you notice that every time he talked about the FBI and what it stood for, it's almost like he got choked up and a tear in his eye. Hey, how are you? And I think, when that happens, when somebody is that like into their job, it's a little scary. Yeah, he really got into his job, and it was like, okay. So, and then he noticed he said that he's in between jobs right now, kind of. And I know that was a little bit of a joke, but I'm wondering if that means he's going to be, put on some law firm someplace and work against the Trump administration. Probably Obama's called him up, on that third conversation he's ever had with Obama. I don't know if he took notes, but we can ask the professor if he did. And then, probably saying, hey, would you like to come work over here for the organization for action? We could use a fine man. A strong and tall and strong man like you, whatever she said. History will not reflect well on all this, assuming they don't lie about it in the history books. Yeah, we'll just take that out. We don't need that. Comey's not going to be hooked up to any lie detector. Yeah, Feinstein said you're tall and strong or something like that. Comey will write a book. It's coming, ladies and gentlemen. Yep. It is coming out there, ladies and gentlemen. Yep. Yeah, you could. I mean, Comey's already written a book, Jamie. If you read his written testimony, that's his book. That's his novel. Well, the professor at Columbia U mentioned himself. He came out and said, that was me who was talking to. It was me. It was me. Now I can have my 15 minutes of fame. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Comey is pathetic. 6'8" and scarf of trust. Book will be out by Christmas. Yeah. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Obama probably already made that phone call. Thanks for coming in, Mike. Now you can leave. Had to wait for him to come back up again so I could get it. You know that they've changed the print on Periscope too. Now it's much smaller, even if you change it in your the settings in Periscope and on your phone. Hey Nancy, how are ya? I was tweeting the whole time sarcastically about Comey and more interested in what did you have for lunch? No, I'm great. I am great. After seeing Comey just like doing what I expected he would do, of course, again, the left is going to use every bit of this, and they're going to say that Comey said there was an obstruction of justice, and he just didn't want to go tell anybody. I know, zero surprises, and to watch Comey veer off of his written testimony. I mean, you knew that was going to come, that was going to happen, and it was so funny. Somebody pointed it out this morning that CNN shared your tweet, Susan. I always have to go. That's crazy. I don't know why. All right, Nanette, thank you for coming by. Ready for more rain in Florida. Did Comey suppress evidence? No. He just made up evidence. I know, he led the hearing. Yeah. He just kind of made up his own stuff. What was the president thinking? Well, at first he said, I don't know. Comey is a leaker. He proved that today. And then he would say, well, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Do you think this would have happened to you? Well, maybe. The answer is either yes or no. It either happened or it didn't. It's called facts. Comey will be the new police chief in Los Angeles, probably, Jamie. Ah, I know it wasn't a trial. Nancy was just talking about that. I said some of the questions that he was asked, they would have said, objection. There would have been an objection over that. Like, what do you think he thought? Well, I don't know. I'm not in his head, so I don't know. But they asked that a lot. What do you think the president was thinking? I just wanted to know, did the president have ice cream that night for dessert? And did he get 2 scoops and Comey only got 1? Because there you go. Yeah, when it comes down to it, Trump is vindicated, but that's not how they're going to see it. What color socks did Trump wear? Assuming, Nancy, he was wearing socks. Do you know more than we do? I'm just asking. And I want to know, did Comey get his socks from Russia or the Clinton Foundation? Which was it? Do you know, Comey? Do you know? Can you tell us? Oh, the guy. Really? Oh, my God. All right, take care. Susan, thanks for coming in. Assuming he had socks. Exactly. Yeah, I took that to mean UK election results. I don't know. What size socks? Well, Cully, they're big and strong, because we talked to Feinstein, and that's what she said. How do you feel about the London attack? Well, how do you think I would feel about the London attack? Can we be the yeah? 2 scoops, ladies and gentlemen. Yep, 2 scoops. How long before this is resolved? Let's see, Robin. After the election, I would say close to the 2018. I mean, it sounded like Comey. You can't tell me that he didn't have some conversations with Mueller while he was there. I'm, I don't know what he would have said, but will they be back to hating Comey? Oh no! Are you kidding me? Comey is just he's going to be the love of everybody's life now. He's going to be the best thing that walked in the face of the earth. Yeah, he met with him, Nancy. And Nancy, my question is, did they meet alone? Did Mueller ask everybody to leave the room, and it was just Comey and Mueller? I think inquiring minds want to know that answer. I think we deserve to know, because maybe Mueller was asking him to drop the investigation and contact somebody in the FBI and say drop that investigation. I thought they met alone was reported. Who did they meet with, Nancy? How many people were in the room? McCain was really confusing, or was it just me? No, he was kind of confusing. I know. I want to know. So after this is all over today, is Comey going to run out to his van, whatever van he has now, and write these notes down? Thank you. Thanks for inviting them in. Thank you. Comey is stealing someone's brand. Yeah, he's stealing the FBI's brand. Thank you, Clifton. He's trying to He's trying to do something that he shouldn't be doing. But it would be okay for him to go out now and make notes because we know it's not classified. But like I said, that first time when he went out to the van out there in front of the Trump Tower, I want to know, was that a laptop you had? Was that for a secure laptop? And was the van a secure van that you could get in and have those type of things done in that van? And let's say, if it was classified, did he call his professor friend? Oh my God. I wish I had that part about the grandfather clock. I'm trying to find that. That was so much. I couldn't believe it. Uh, but he describes, oh yeah, here's the last part of it. When the door by the grandfather clock closed and we were alone, the president began by saying, I want to talk about Mike Flynn. Ooh, doesn't that just bring chills to you? When the door by the grandfather clock closed. Okay, that leads me to ask, um, why was that important? Okay, thanks for coming in. Why was it important for us to know which door exactly, Jamie? The notes will be in the book. We're going to talk about the door by the grandfather clock. Now we know the identity of the leaker. Yep. So, is there another door, let's say, that has a bust next to it that we should know about? Doesn't have a grandfather clock, but it has a bust of some sort. And my question is, why did everybody choose to go in and out of the door next to the grandfather clock? And when he finally left the grandfather clock door, he passed by, I think it was Vice President Pence. And so, why? The question is, why? Clock is ticking. Clock is ticking. I mean, the whole thing. Did the grandfather clock have the video recorder? Could have been. I'm telling you, I'm thinking Hillary was standing in that grandfather clock. Hello from Russia. I think it was Hillary, and I think he was just wondering. That's where the bug is hidden. Maybe maybe it was a Russian grandfather clock, Marlene said. Could have been. Could have been. Maybe that's why it's so important that we know that it was the door next to the grandfather clock. So, I mean, it kind of hurts him in a way. And you heard somebody say to him, you were so meticulous about everything that you wrote in here that I'm trying to be Teresa, that he, stackable grandfather. I don't know. I think that would be an important question. I think that would be an important question. I think that he probably wouldn't be able to testify in public about the grandfather clock, but maybe we could ask him later in when it's classified. But when somebody said you're very meticulous about the notes that you've taken and what you've said, they go. I mean, they are so meticulous. It's obsessive. But again, and that will work against him in a lot of respects because if he's so meticulous and gets every detail, why did he leave the details out about why they decided not to go and tell anybody about what they had discovered? That he said, well, we didn't want to hurt morale and we didn't want to interfere with the investigation. Why didn't you put that in your written testimony? Because anybody would know. That would be important. That would be an important thing that somebody would want to know. Now they didn't ask him that. I think somebody finally did though. Do you think that Russia is attempting to discredit Trump? I don't think they have to. I think the United States, the left, is doing a better job than Russia could ever do on that. I think we're at this point. This is going to keep bogging everything down. Somehow, the Republicans are going to have to figure out a way, number one, to keep Paul Ryan's mouth shut. It's a rough draft for his book. You're right. You're right, Seth. The written testimony is a rough draft for the book. And I'm telling you, it reads like a romance novel in sections. But the Republicans are going to have to figure out, what do I need to do in order to get beyond this? How do we move forward and do our work and get things done and not letting not letting them do things. Well, your Social Security check is late. Ask Comey where it's at. He should know. He knows everything else, so ask him where that is. Of course, he's been out for about a month, so he may not know, but I'm sure that he can call the professor, and the professor can call the people over at the FBI and get that question asked for you. So the whole thing, I mean, just absolutely today, I think was an absurdity. Hello from Russia. A lot of people from Russia today. And I think they're just going to have to figure out a way to make this go in the background instead of being the news every single second and letting it bother them. Yep, they do. They need to gather the wagons and stand up to the Dems and the Libs. Yep, hey, JPG, good to see you. They really do. And if they don't, then it's going to keep bogging down every single thing that they want to do. And you can believe that that's exactly what the Libs want, because they want to say, when we're doing Obamacare, we're trying to repeal that. Oh, well, can we really trust this president? Should we really go forward with Obamacare when all this is going on? Can we really trust him when we're trying to do the tax code reform on that? I mean, this is the president who Comey said, ask him to interfere with the Russian investigation, which he didn't. But I mean, that's kind of what Comey wants you to think. So we've really gotten ourselves in a bad place right now. And I think in the very beginning, they should support Trump or we need to vote them out. Absolutely. Absolutely. Paul Ryan needs to go, and he needs to go from the position that he's in for sure. But had we gone back in day one and started an investigation on the Clinton Foundation, the Clinton emails and the Clinton server, we wouldn't be in the position that we're in right now. We really wouldn't. We are always on the defense. We need to put them on the defense, and we never do that because we want to make sure that everybody likes us. We want to make sure that everybody out there in liberal land loves us and will somehow, some way, someday vote for us, which never happens. And no matter how much you tell the GOP, this is not the way to do it, this is the way they continually do it. They don't ever get the point. So it's very difficult for us to now dig ourselves out of the hole. She is? What's Hillary doing? Trolls were light today. Yep. Ramping up for an attack. Well, Nancy, it's just, there were some that were in here in the beginning, but we came in at a different time. So I think it threw them off a little bit. Maybe they were having lunch. Mommy had just finished making lunch or something. I don't know. I know they weren't watching the Comey thing, so that couldn't have been it. They certainly weren't watching anything of importance. I don't know. Maybe The Price is Right was on at the same time. I don't know. So, but I think we need the Republicans are going to need to get it together and very quickly here, and look for the media during the next press conference. They are going to just pound this in, and they're going to go for the jugular. Loretta Lynch is trending, really? Take care. See you soon. All right, Lamper. See you tomorrow if you're back at 11. See, McCain was representing his voters today. He tried, Nancy. He wasn't doing the greatest job, but he tried. It's the first time I've ever seen him say something that was halfway supportive of the president. So he did try. He gave it a shot. So anyway, that's the very first, and it'll probably be the last. I'm thinking. And even Lindsey Graham came out early on before all of this got started and said that Comey's testimony shows that there's no obstruction of justice, and that's what Mueller will find. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let Comey come out and testify. You missed Graham. Well, no, he tweeted that, or it came out in an article, and I tweeted it out. They will have to tell reporters that they deal in reality, not perceptions. See, but the problem is the reporters do deal in perception and not reality. It's an opposite world. And that's, even with Comey, it's the opposite world. He's sitting there thinking, well, I think the president really likes me and he's moving close to me and he's going to kiss me at any moment. Of course, I'm being sarcastic. But I'm saying Donald Trump's probably sitting here going, I just want to make sure that the people, that in the administration, the people I know, that they're loyal. I like people like that. And so it's a totally different opinion. But that's what he wants it to appear to be what he says it is. And you can't work on suppositions. You can't work on, well, I think it may have been, or I think, that was my impression. Well, that's just great, but if you don't have some corroboration on that, I mean, it's just your opinion versus another in a lot of respects. And now it's like, oh, okay, well, if there are tapes, let's get them on out there. I'll let the tapes come out. And so there will be the next thing. They'll be looking for the tapes. So anyway, well, thank you for coming in. Enjoyed having you here. Please retweet this if you will, and so that we can get the word out and look for more entertainment coming from the left and Comey, I am sure. So again, thanks again for coming by. Thank you. Be safe. Thank you, everyone. God bless you. We'll talk to you again really soon, tomorrow morning at 11 Eastern. All right, everybody on YouTube, thanks so much for coming in. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.